week 4. We are going to read this and answer a question or two on it. So if you have your paperwork, go to week 4. It's going to talk about the common behavior characteristics and break them down one at a time. And then we're going to really see how much we got in common. Common behavior characteristics. Adults who were reared in dysfunctional homes share certain common behavior characteristics. This is especially true when their caretakers were chemically dependent or emotionally repressed individuals. The behaviors reveal an underlying structure of disorder that is damaging to those involved. Although the general population displays many of the behaviors, individuals from dysfunctional families tend to have a higher incidence of these characteristics. This list is intended to help you recognize areas of your life in which dysfunctional behavior characteristics are present. Examples are given to help you identify some of your thoughts, feelings, and behaviors. 1. We have feelings of low self-esteem that cause us to judge ourselves and others without mercy. We cover up or compensate by trying to be perfect, take responsibility for others, attempt to control the outcome of unpredictable events, get angry when things don't go our way, or gossip instead of confronting an issue. For example, I'm inclined to talk about my family and extended family. I often recite all of their faults and shortcomings to others. Chirp, 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 chirp. Instead of what's good about them. When I'm alone with my own thoughts, I tend to criticize myself. Sometimes I feel stupid, inadequate, ugly, or worthless. I don't feel important. I try to help others and hope they will notice me. I gossip and complain about those who make me feel powerless. You spend the whole night on that one. I compensate for my feelings of low self-esteem by 2. We tend to isolate ourselves and to feel uneasy around other people, especially authority figures. For example, I like to blend into the scenery at work. I especially don't want the boss to notice me. I feel uncomfortable in most conversations, especially when the focus is on me. When I speak with someone in authority, I have trouble expressing myself. I isolate myself because it's easier than dealing with others. I isolate myself from other people by. When I am around authority figures, I usually 3. We are approval seekers and will do anything to make people like us. We are extremely loyal even in the face of evidence that suggests loyalty is undeserved. For example, I offer to do favors for people even before they ask. I worry about what others are thinking and saying about me. When people stop talking as I approach, I assume they're talking about me. Although I may not like my boss or friends, I am loyal because I fear being rejected. I find it hard to admit that I come from a dysfunctional home. I feel guilty for admitting that my parents were less than perfect. The ways I seek approval from my family or friends include: I suspect my loyalty toward is inappropriate because 4. We are intimidated by angry people and personal criticism. This causes us to feel anxious and overly sensitive. For example, I find it nearly impossible to listen to a fire and brimstone sermon. When someone with strong opinions speaks to me, I rarely share my true feelings. Instead, I say what I think the other person wants to hear. I may harbor a secret desire to retaliate against the angry and opinionated people who threaten my peace. I panic when someone points out a mistake or problem with my work. My first recollection of being intimidated by an angry person is when I respond to personal criticism by 5. We habitually choose to have relationships with emotionally unavailable people with addictive personalities. We are usually less attracted to healthy, caring people. For example, I am in a relationship with someone who seems uncaring. I sense that my problems don't matter. Life is always a crisis. I wonder what it would be like to live a normal life. Others and not myself seem to set the agenda for my life. I sometimes feel that I deserve to give in to temptation, especially after I've suffered and done so much for others. The people in my life with addictive, compulsive personality styles, for example, alcoholic, workaholic, gambler, overeater, religious fanatic, perfectionist, are the relationships from which I receive the most nurture and support are: we live life as victims and are attracted to other victims in our love and friendship relationships. We confuse love with pity and tend to love people we can pity and rescue. For example, I seem to get the short end of every stick, and I agree with the saying, no good deed goes unpunished. I almost feel good about myself when I'm doing something for others. However, I've learned from experience that they won't appreciate it. My friends tell me that I'm a good listener, but I resent how they lose interest when I share. I spend a lot of my time fixing other people's problems. The last time I noticed that I was being used by someone was when I try to rescue others by doing things like 7. We are either overly responsible or very irresponsible. We try to solve others' problems or expect others to be responsible for us. This enables us to avoid looking closely at our own behavior. For example, I am usually called when family members have a problem. No one at my job or church cares as much or works as hard as I do. When things fail at home or at work, I feel that I have somehow failed. Or others don't understand how sick I am, and I'm expected to do too much. I'm just waiting for the right opportunity to become re-involved in life. I'm waiting for God to make positive changes in my life. I feel overly responsible when, and I feel very irresponsible when. We feel guilty when we stand up for ourselves or act assertively. We give in to others instead of taking care of ourselves. For example, after I stand up for myself, I feel guilty and think maybe I was wrong. When I feel safe with a close friend or family member, I share all my resentments about the pushy people in my life. I feel sick when I'm told that certain people are wanting to see me or talk to me. I store a great deal of anger inside instead of releasing it properly. I sometimes scream, slam doors, or break things when no one is around. Recently, I was afraid to express my true feelings, and I gave into when. We deny, 9. We deny, minimize, or repress our feelings from our traumatic childhoods. We have difficulty expressing our feelings and are unaware of the impact this has on our lives. For example, there are portions of my childhood that I simply cannot remember. I sometimes react with overwhelming panic, anxiety, or fear in certain situations, and I have no idea why. I find it hard to get really excited about things. Other people are annoyed when I don't share their excitement. When I start to feel too much anxiety or fear, or when I hear the committee in my head, I look for something to distract me or kill the pain. I deny, minimize, or repress my feelings when. 10. We are dependent personalities who are terrified of rejection or abandonment. We tend to stay in jobs or relationships that are harmful to us. Our fears can either stop us from ending hurtful relationships or prevent us from entering healthy, rewarding ones. For example, when someone close to me is silent or emotionally absent, I panic and fear the worst. If my superiors don't seem to recognize my work, I assume that they are displeased and ready to let me go. When I disagree with a friend or companion, I later fear that I have irreparably damaged the relationship. I may even call several times to smooth things over or apologize. I spend time daydreaming about what it would be like to have a different job, spouse, friends, etc. Oh boy.
Bring laughter down.
Is that why you're always daydreaming? I fear rejection or abandonment the most in my relationship with. I currently deal with this fear by 11. Denial, isolation, control, and misplaced guilt are symptoms of family dysfunction. Because of these behaviors, we feel hopeless and helpless. For example, I just wish that people would leave me alone. I try to manage my own life, but circumstance and other people are always invading my plan. I work hard to reveal little about myself, or I try to manage how people think of me. I don't have much hope that things will change. Good things happen to others, but not me. I seem to be cursed or something. Sometimes I can't wait to go home, close the door, and disconnect from reality. The results of my family dysfunction are seen in my life when 12. We have difficulty with intimate relationships. We feel insecure and lack trust in others. We don't have clearly defined boundaries and become enmeshed with our partner's needs and emotions. For example, if someone close to me is angry, I immediately feel threatened, even if the anger is toward another person or outside force. I can have sex with my spouse, but I sometimes find it difficult to be really close or romantic. I often belittle my looks, if only to myself, or doubt my attractiveness. I may try to change my spouse or companion's mood by suggesting some pleasurable activity. What do you want me to buy for you, honey? My present difficulties with intimate relationships are: I have difficulty trusting because 13. We have difficulty following projects through from beginning to end. For example, I finish most projects at the last minute. My desk is full of great projects that I was excited about but never handled. I have at least one room or more in my house that I hope no one ever sees.
Yeah, I know that too much.
I feel guilty when I think of all the time and resources I've wasted on half-baked ideas or schemes. When I lack motivation or procrastinate, I feel the current projects I'm not completing are 14. We have a strong need to be in control. Really. We overreact to change over which we have no control. For example, I want to know what my spouse or children are doing. I may even search their private belongings. If other people work for me, I find it hard to let them express their creativity. I want things done my way. When serious things happen that are beyond my control, I panic and take out my frustration on others, or I take control through a flurry of activity. I find it very hard to relax or sleep. People sometimes tell me that I'm high-strung. When I am not in control, I fear. When I am not in control, I feel. 15. We tend to be impulsive. We take action before considering alternative behaviors or possible consequences. For example, I settle for less than what I really want because I find it hard to decide. I sometimes write letters that I later wish I could get back. I go places and do things without much planning. I have made many mistakes in life. I make commitments that I later regret. I may even have my spouse or children call and cancel my commitments. My impulsiveness caused me to make a poor decision when preparing for community. Which 3 characteristics would you like to share with others? What is your overall reaction to reading the characteristics? To what degree do they apply to you? In what areas do you see yourself as overly responsible or very irresponsible? And which characteristics do you most closely relate to? How does this characteristic present itself in your life? So it ran the gamut on the common behavior characteristics and gave us some idea of examples of what they might be. Does anybody relate to them? Yeah, you kill the camera. Anybody relate to some of them characteristics?